Is walking for exercise good to help heal hip bursitis? The way hip bursitis works, there's a bursa right here on this point of the bone. It's a fluid-filled sac, and it's just like a little shock absorber. The whole purpose of it is to reduce friction and rubbing in the area, and right over the bursa are tendons for some of the muscles on the side of the hip right here. Now that's why it's confused often in the healthcare world as bursitis, because true bursitis in the hip, it hurts in one little spot right here. But very often what I find when I see patients come in with this problem is they may have pain here, but it's also tender and sore right above that area, maybe even below that. And the reason for that is because the muscles above are acting too much. They're overused. They're compensating for weakness in other areas. And then one of those in particular, one of those muscles is called the TFL muscle, the tensor fasciae lata, which is a little more on the front side, like where your front pocket would be on your pants. That muscle connects to the IT band, the iliotibial tract, and it runs down all the way to your knee. So some people will even have pain on the outside of their knee and on the outside of their thigh, or at least tenderness if you poke on it. But hip bursitis is just this one spot. And the point I want to make to you guys here in this video is that hip bursitis rarely ever happens in isolation. Like it's just, you just got bursitis and there was no other problems. It's usually bursitis with tendonitis, with TFL muscle irritation, and probably some IT band issues that maybe even go down to your knee. And if it hasn't happened yet, if you truly just have hip bursitis, if you keep on the pathway that you're on right now, you're probably going to get all those other symptoms eventually as this problem progresses. And the reason for that is because of the root muscle imbalance that sets up hip bursitis right here and all these other conditions. And like I said earlier, these muscles here are compensating for a weakness elsewhere. That weakness is almost always directly on the back side of the hip right here in the glute muscles, the glute maximus muscles. Now you have some other glute muscles, glute medius and glute minimus, and oftentimes people go after those. They start saying, well, we need to strengthen glute medius and maybe even glute minimus, or they'll just say hip abductor muscles, hip abductor muscles. They're the muscles that move your leg out sideways this way. But I think that it's a bad idea to strengthen those muscles because then you're feeding into the imbalance. Because here's how it works. If your glutes in the back, the glute maximus, the muscles that extend your hip this way, are not very strong, then the muscles next door tend to compensate most. And so that's going to be your hip abductors right here, glute medius, minimus, and definitely your TFL. So when those muscles get overused, they start putting a lot of pressure and tension in this area, so you can develop tendonitis because the muscle has a tendon that connects it to the bone. And then right under those tendons right here is where the bursa lives, that greater trochanteric bursa. That's the actual name of it. So you can irritate it, and then you can get IT band irritation because some of the IT band attaches up here and then it runs all the way down, and you have the TFL muscle in the front of it. So what we have to do to fix this imbalance is get the glute muscle stronger by doing hip extension exercises. So we're talking like donkey kick type exercises, bridges, or if you can create exercises that truly make the muscle burn in the back, in the meat of the glute, then you're on the right track. And that's without compensating with back muscles above the glutes or hamstring muscles below the glutes in the back of the thigh, because that's possible. You can cheat with those muscles to achieve similar motions. But what you don't want to do, what you want to avoid, is movements where you're going out to the side, like sideways stepping or resisted band exercises where you're moving out to the side, because that's going to strengthen these already strong muscles and further irritate that poor hip bursa. And you know what? This same muscle imbalance that sets up bursitis, tendonitis, IT band problems, if you have it long enough, if you make it to your 50s and 60s with this problem, you're signing up for hip osteoarthritis. Hip arthritis will develop because those muscles, the way that they pull on the ball and socket joint, it causes the ball and socket joint to slightly shift within the socket and begin to rub inappropriately. And the cartilage and the bone in there have some pretty good durability, but after years, decades of this bad force going through there, that's when you start to wear things down and cause arthritis problems. But you can help it by fixing the same muscle imbalance. Now, the way that you fix the imbalance is you first just start to tighten the glutes. I mean, like right now sitting, I'm thinking about tightening my glutes, my butt muscles, but you have to separate firing your thigh muscles too, because if you try this at home right now, you could do this sitting, standing, lying down, you're probably gonna also tighten up your thigh muscles, if you can even fire your glute muscles, because some people can't even fire their glute muscles. They think about tightening their glute muscles, and it's only thigh muscles that activate. But if you can start to get the glute muscles to become active, and you can hold the contraction back there, you can hold the muscle tight and make it even get a little tired, then you're on the right track. The next step is to get the glute muscles to tighten up without the thigh muscles taking over right away. After that, if you can begin to do some exercises like the bridges that I mentioned, the donkey kicks, some kind of isolated exercises where your intent is to fire the glute muscles and you're not taking over with thigh muscles or like TFL, the hip flexor muscles in the front, then you're on the right track. Only after that, only after you master getting those muscles, the glute muscles to fire the way that I'm telling you, would it be appropriate for you to then go into walking? Because if you're walking right now without having been able to fire your glutes properly or letting your thigh muscles and hip flexors and abductors on the side of your hip take over, then every time you go on a walk with the intention of helping hip bursitis, you're actually feeding into the very problem that's setting it up. You're feeding into that imbalance, and you have to go through the process of getting this glute muscle to work right, which is a process before you actually can get to walking where it's going to be beneficial for you. So let's say that you figured it out. Now what? We got to learn how to walk using your glute muscles. Let me show you how to do that. When you stand and you put weight on this leg, your foot should contact the ground and you start to bear weight, then this glute muscle back here, not anywhere else, you shouldn't be worried about other muscles working. It needs to be the back glute muscle right here, the thick of the meat back here. That should be tightening up a little bit, like 10 or 20%. And then as you start to put weight onto the other leg, then the other glute's gonna start to contract, my right side in this case. And so as I progress through walking, it's the left glute working, then my right glute working, left glute working. And if you do it that way and you've mastered firing your glutes, primarily the glute maximus, the big butt muscle on the back, without dominating walking with your thigh muscles and hip flexor muscles and that darn TFL muscle, then you're setting yourself up to have walking be a good thing for you. But until you master turning on your glutes and being able to fire your glutes apart from your thigh muscles and hip flexor muscles, you shouldn't be walking for exercise, because by default, you're going to be using the wrong muscles to accomplish walking, and that's what's setting up the irritation on the bursa. Practice using your glutes at slower speeds first. Like if you're on a treadmill, obviously you can control the speed very easily, but if you're outside your house, at the park, wherever you're walking, just go slower and don't allow yourself to go faster unless you can consistently fire your glutes, just like I'm talking about, left, then right. And if you eventually get up to that fast speed, just make sure that you're truly firing the glutes every single step that you take. It gets harder at this pace though, because you have to, your foot's gonna only contact the ground for a quick moment, and in that quick moment, your glute has to turn on and then let go so that the other side can turn on as you're doing this. This takes a lot of subconscious control. You have to have practiced this so that you just do it automatically for the most part, but you might have to concentrate at times as it gets faster and faster. It's the same thing with running, but that's for another video.